What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. Tonight, I have another iPad video for you guys, so my apologies on the lower quality, but I did want to sit down and just update you on everything that we've learned today. We've gotten some big news from the Indiana Fever, and specifically on Sophie Cunningham's injury. So the Indiana Fever did report tonight that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Now, initially, the Indiana Fever didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season, but she is expected to make a full recovery before next season. So obviously that is good news. And when you talk about tears in your knee, an MCL is one that has a quicker recovery period for the most part than something like an ACL, or sometimes even meniscus can be longer than an MCL. A patellar tendon obviously is much more severe than all of them. So it was good news relatively, that it was an MCL and not anything more serious, and there wasn't any fractures or anything else that came along with it. And as I was sitting down to film this video, Sophie Cunningham actually released a new episode of her podcast where she talked about this injury. So I wanted to just summarize for you guys what she had to say, what the updates are from her. And I'll start with saying, like, she did confirm that it was an MCL tear. She also did confirm that she will be getting surgery on this MCL tear, and an MCL is also something that you don't always need surgery depending on the severity of the injury. I've actually also torn my MCL. I injured my MCL, my meniscus, and I displaced my ACL all at the same time. My recovery time was 9 months, but I did not get surgery. And I remember my doctor telling me, you could be back in 6 months. If we get surgery, it's just a longer downtime. But at the time, I was not playing competitive basketball. Like, I wasn't competing in a high level sport at the time. So I was like, I really don't want the downtime. I can kind of go about my day to day and just do some heavy PT. It's just going to take a longer period of time. But with Sophie, it seems like it's going to be about 4 months. That's also what she said in the podcast, that it'll be about a 4-month recovery and she will get surgery on it. Now, she also addressed what has been circulating online as how so many people said that Bria Hartley did this to Sophie on purpose. Now, we reviewed the play in our last video where Bria Hartley, she's driving to the baseline, she's going for a skip pass across the way. Sophie comes over for help side defense, and that is when the two collide. Bria Hartley falls over. And then there was also a photo circulating online where Bria Hartley's kind of on the ground and she's looking up, and it looks like she's smiling. She's kind of like, it looks like she's smiling from this photo, and Sophie is grabbing her knee in the photo. Now, Sophie basically addressed this and she was like, I'm friends with Bria. I do not think that she did this on purpose. She wouldn't do this on purpose. She would not hurt me. Like, I'm actually really close with her. So she wanted to address it on her podcast to kind of cool that narrative. She kind of mentioned that, but overall, she just seems like she's in good spirits. Hopefully it is only a 4-month recovery and there's no complications from that. However, this injury is such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever. Now they have Sophie out, Sid Colson out, Ari McDonald out, Caitlin Clark out. And I speculated this in my last video. I was like, I wonder if Sophie is actually out for the rest of the season, if this hurts our chances of seeing Caitlin Clark back on the floor this season for the Indiana Fever. And this is the last thing that I'll say about that podcast interview. As Sophie did mention, she talked about Caitlin Clark briefly and her recovery, and she basically just said, like, it is a day-to-day thing. Caitlin doesn't even know when she will be back. So she didn't really give any more information than that, but I think a lot of fans are speculating, will Caitlin Clark be back? Because Sophie is now out for the season, will the Indiana Fever risk it by bringing Caitlin Clark back? If Sophie is out, do the Fever even have a chance in the playoffs? Why would you bring Caitlin Clark back? Should you bring Caitlin Clark back? Will she be practicing this week? They have a tough stretch of games. Are they going to bring her back against a team like the Minnesota Lynx? We just don't know. And I, like I've said in the past few videos, I don't think Caitlin Clark is coming back. However, I do not understand what the Indiana Fever is doing. I was talking about this recently. I was in a meeting and I was just talking about the differences between the NBA and the WNBA. And I've been covering the NBA for over a decade, right? And so a lot of my standards when I'm covering the WNBA is from how I was covering the NBA. And I'm quickly learning that I can't have the same standards for both. You would think that you can because it's both professional basketball, just one men's and one is women's. I can't talk about the two leagues the same. There's a lot more sensitivity in the WNBA. And also I'm quickly finding out like the front offices do not operate the same. The way that they treat their star players is not the same in the WNBA as it is in the NBA. Say Caitlin Clark was a star franchise player on an NBA team and all of these things were happening to this team. I just don't think that there's any way in hell that they would bring her back for the end of the season if they thought that they weren't going to be going anywhere in playoffs, or their chances were getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer to even win a championship. So anyways, with that, you guys, like, I still think we probably won't see her back. However, I just don't have a clue. And you guys have heard me say that. I have just been so confused with the whole league in general, but also like with the Fever. I don't know what to expect with this team. And I'm just kind of along for the ride. It has been a roller coaster of a ride following this team, being a fan of this team, and just seeing everything that happened. But one thing that the Indiana Fever are hanging on to is the fact that they don't quit, they don't give up, they are resilient. We talked about it during the last video, how Steph White cried in the locker room when she was talking to her team and she was like, you guys just never give up. That means so much to me. So maybe they have this mentality that they are never going to give up, and they are going to try to get Caitlin back on the court, even if it is for the last 3-4 games of the season and then into playoffs, maybe, you know, assuming that they do make the playoffs, which I'm not so sure. And I apologize, you guys. I feel like this video is turning into a rant video, but I just wanted to give you guys my honest reaction to everything that is going on. Now, what I forgot to mention is that the Indiana Fever, they released Kyra Lambert and they have signed Shea Petty, who is also like a short guard. So it just seems like they're just swapping out point guards at this point. Probably what happened with Kyra Lambert, maybe she just wasn't ready for the WNBA. She has actually never had a long-term WNBA contract. She has never played. She played 4 or 5 seconds in that last game with the Indiana Fever, and those are her only WNBA minutes. So I'm sure that that is why they cut her. But the Fever have signed Shea Petty, a 6-year league veteran. And so we will just have to see how she fits in, how much playing time she will get. With Sophie out, I'm sure Lexi will slide back into the starting lineup, and we'll likely have Odyssey Sims, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Natasha Howard, and Aaliyah Boston in that starting lineup. And we'll see if they can get it done. And I would assume that if the Indiana Fever is able to win a few games in this next stretch of games, maybe that will be the deciding factor as to if we see Caitlin Clark back on the court this season. Otherwise, I still feel like there's a high possibility that she does not return. But with that, you guys, I think that's all that I have for this video. I just wanted this to be a quick reaction video. We are actually getting some new stats from the WNBA about attendance and different things. There's also some stats about injuries that I do want to go over with you guys, but I want to make sure that I take the time to prepare that for the next video. So if you enjoyed this reaction video, then make sure that you give it a thumbs up, click that little subscribe button, because we upload new videos every single week and I have a lot more content planned for you guys. Also, make sure that you check out our memberships if you are interested in becoming a Courtside Club member. There's a little join button if you are on your web browser, you're on your laptop. There's a little join button next to the subscribe button. So if you guys are interested in that, it's just another way to support the channel. So definitely check that out. But with that, I'm going to stop rambling now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Ooh,